a quiet, peaceful location nestling among the hills in the Dee Valley of North Wales. A small town in a beautiful part of Wales, like many others, but every summer for 60 years, something wonderful happens here.
Llangollen Eisteddfod isn't just an event. It's a way of life, it's a philosophy, and it's an ideal.
We had 10 of them come to the house, and so we were all in one bedroom and they were all over the house. And every morning, my kids were little then, and they used to get up and run to see who was in whose bedroom.
So we won. Incredible, beautiful, beautiful experience.
So, how did it all start and why? The Second World War. 6 years of destruction and devastation. A world in turmoil. A world with wounds that needed healing.
In the immediate aftermath of the Second World War, the Allies, of course, had won. There was a feeling of a great victory over an evil fascist regime and a sense of optimism. An optimism above all concerning the hopes for world peace.
In 1943, a party went to the Welsh National Eisteddfod in Bangor, and they had a great time. The visit was organised by Harold Tudor, who was deputy editor of the Daily Post in Liverpool and worked out of the Manchester office of the British Council. A noted Czech diplomat, Juraj Slavik, wrote to Tudor about the joy and peace of an international musical event in a Welsh setting.
If the Welsh were going to put on an international gathering, an Eisteddfod and a musical Eisteddfod would seem to be the natural thing to do.
Harold Tudor approached the National Eisteddfod with the idea of incorporating international competitions, but the Eisteddfod declined as it wasn't in tune with their new Welsh language rule. Instead, Tudor took his dream to Llangollen, where a local musicologist, W.S. Gwyn Williams, responded with enthusiasm. In June 1946, a public meeting was held in the Llangollen Town Hall, and the project was announced. A plan for the event was drawn up, and invitations were sent to choirs across the world.
Gwyn Williams had noticed that the Anglesey Eisteddfod had a 6,000-seat marquee hired from A.P. Davis in Chester. And he said, "That's what I want."
Now, when you put a pavilion up, where do you get chairs? It's not like today you can order them. And so what they did, they went to every chapel. So all the chapels and all the churches and all the schools were asked for chairs and benches. And then they would take them out and put them on the pavement. And again, they would probably use chalk to write the names of the chapels on the chairs, or they put little labels on the back. And then anyone who was coming past would pick up 2 or 3 chairs and bring them and put them on the field. So every chair in the place would have been different.
It started to get nearer the day. Would anybody arrive? A lot of concern that despite the assurances, despite the letters, no groups would turn up. And then there was a rail strike in France a week before. But it all worked. It's like a fairy story, it all worked. The first choir, the first overseas choir from Portugal, their bus rolled down Castle Street, and there was an audible sigh of relief.
Is there anybody here who understands music?
Yes.
Oh, good. Just come and give me a hand, please, to move this piano, will you?
A very Heath Robinson setup, the first one was, because we didn't know what was going to happen. The stage was very primitive. It was just open boarding, which had a post on the 4 corners, and we strung a cable across, and we put just household bulbs on. That's all we had.
Never before, in any town in Wales, have so many people
of so many nationalities assembled for the purpose of lifting their voices in song.
The Hungarian Workers' Male Voice Choir, because of the French rail strike, sang their way across France. And they were widely praised by the adjudicators, who said that they should be careful on their return journey, lest any Welsh choir master try to steal their superb bass voices. Marvellous. Spanish dance troupe turned up. They were on a tour of the UK, organised by the Esperanto Society, and somebody said, go to Llangollen.
When the Spanish dancers were dancing on the stage started to give way underneath them because they jump around so much, and we dashed under the stage, and with our backs we were able to keep the stage up until they'd finished their performance.
And next year the Eisteddfod said, well, we're going to have a folk dance competition. And that was really the start of almost by accident, of the two strands of the Eisteddfod, the classical, traditional, choral, voiced vocal strand and the folk strand.
And so people flocked to Llangollen. Although wartime opponents Austria and Italy were among the first countries to visit the Eisteddfod, no one knew what would happen when, in 1949, a young choir from Lübeck in West Germany applied to come.
They were tired, they were hungry, and they were a bit apprehensive because they could see on the platform a welcoming committee. I think that deep down, the symbol of a long train journey to an unknown destination was very potent in wartime Germany. So they pulled into Llangollen station, and the men thought, what shall we do? So they pushed the women off first. And of course the women were hugged and there were kisses and welcome on the platform, and the men got off very quickly and joined in. Howell Roberts was wondering what he was going to say. He'd lost his brother in the war. So what he did was say, welcome to our friends from West Germany. There were shouts, tears, and the Lübeck choir themselves say they were overcome with emotion.
1953, an important year for Llangollen, and more significant visitors were announced.
Llangollen, a small town in North Wales, again welcomes people from many lands to its annual International Eisteddfod. From Austria comes a team of dancers and singers. During the festival week, Llangollen's visitors, among them these Dutchmen, more than double the population of the town. About 20 different countries are represented, and there's keen competition between them. But while everyone's getting to know everyone else, a children's choir from Germany is hard at practice.
Mein Vater war ein Wandersmann, und mir steckt's auch im Blut. Drum wandere ich froh, solang ich kann, und schenke meinen Hut.
That year saw other important visitors. The Queen, just after her coronation, and Dylan Thomas, shortly before his death, who immortalised the Eisteddfod in words.
Now follow your nose and the noise of guitars and the flying hues and flourish of those big singing birds in their clogs and aprons and bonnets, veils, flowers, more flowers and lace. Past the wee shops, through the babel of the bridge by the very white policeman conducting from a rostrum, and up the tide of the hill past popcorn and raspberry aid to the tented field. All day the song and dancing in this transformed valley, this green cup of countries in the country of Wales, goes on until the sun goes in. Then, in the ship of the tent, under the wind-filled sails, watchers and listeners grow slow and close into one cloud of shadow. They gaze from their deep-lulled dark onto the lighted deck, where the country dancers weave in shifting-coloured harvests of light. Are you surprised that people still can dance and sing in a world on its head? The only surprising thing about miracles, however small, is that they sometimes happen.
In 1955, a male choir from the Italian town of Modena came to compete. One male voice in particular still has vivid memories of the occasion.
Here I am arriving in Llangollen, and they are speaking, and I don't understand one word. We were there with my coro, my father, all my friends. They begin to call the number 22. Remember that they told us that we cannot reach the number 12. So when at the number 12, they did not call us. I say, okay. We already do better than the other. Then after 12, 10, 7, 6, 4, 3, our name was not there. The maestro faint at the third, and while he was down with a little glass of cognac, they called the number 2, and it was not us. So we won. Incredible, beautiful. To win gives to you a kind of strength. Then after in life you say, I did win, I can win.
And the crowds came back 40 years later to the day to hear that male voice, now a very famous voice, return to the Llangollen stage. With the annual population explosion, there was one problem. In such a small town, where would everyone stay?
Good afternoon. Could you help us to find some accommodations in town?
Well, yes, I think we can help you. Would you, how far as you can?
Well, this morning we came from Newport hitchhiking, but we are foreign.
Well, where from?
I'm from France.
From France?
I'm from Germany.
Oh, France and Germany. Well, we'll do what we can for you. Would you like private accommodation or camp beds?
Yes, would be nice. Private depends on the price.
Yes. Well, we'll
price.
telephone and inquire for you, and we'll do our very best for you.
Miss Jones, while we're waiting to see if you can help these two girls, while we're waiting for our phone call, perhaps you'd like to tell me how many people you've accommodated and helped this year.
Well, Mrs. Markowitz, our private accommodation, has accommodated, I should think, well over 600 people during this estate. Her work has gone on since October.
1 or 2 nights?
We decide tomorrow, depends on much on the weather, you know.
No, I'll have to decide today because someone else may need the accommodation tomorrow.
Yes.
But I believe you have some camp bed accommodation.
Yes, I am in charge of the camp bed accommodation. We have approximately 600 camp beds in the various buildings in this school. Oh, excuse me. Hello. Yes, now you've got, what address have you got that accommodation at?
This is the address.
Right. Thank you very much.
I take the address, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Opening up your home to strangers wasn't always a straightforward affair.
Beautiful Norwegian students from sort of choir in Norway, aged about 18, 19. And we had 10 of them come to the house, and so we were all in one bedroom, and they were all over the house. And every morning, my kids were little then, and they used to get up and run to see who was in whose bedroom, because every morning there was somebody different in there. And then we took them to Plasmadok to swim. And in Norway, they're very hygienic, not like this country. And they all wore hats to cover their hair and took all their clothes off. And we swam naked in Plasmadok, which stopped the place, because these were nice kids.
The world was not always such a warm place. This was the era of frozen relations between East and West.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union.
As far as the Cold War was concerned, we just ignored it. People were welcome to come here and sing and dance, irrespective of the politics of their home country, and the welcome was equally warm to people from Czechoslovakia and Hungary and Bulgaria and Russia itself as it was for people from France, Germany, America and the rest of the world. And indeed, in many ways, there were incidents of true reconciliation.
Songs bridged the gap between East and West at an international music festival in North Wales. Both American and Soviet choirs went to Llangollen to take part.
Americans have always flocked to the folk festival at this picturesque town on the banks of the Dee. But it was the first time ever in Llangollen for a choir from the Soviet Union. There was even talk of segregation as the ladies from Riga in Latvia were put up at a local school. But it was the Welsh national anthem today that brought together the Americans and the Soviets, underlining the festival's motto, "Blessed is a world that sings."
Totalitarian states do want to nationalize everything that happens, and even folk dancing and folk singing became, for some of the more authoritarian states of Eastern Europe, a kind of showcase, exactly, of course, as they nationalized their athletes for things like the Olympic Games. They did something the same, and although we were told that these were Romanian dancers who did it for sheer love of their village culture, in many cases they were sent as advertisements, as well, in fact, propaganda.
The name of the song is I'm Small, but I'm Strong.
Over the years, of course, Eastern Europe has made an enormous contribution to the standard of choral singing here. Because of the Iron Curtain regimes, countries like Bulgaria and Hungary and Czechoslovakia would send selected choirs over to take part. In a way, that's against the ethos of the Eisteddfod, but the end result was we had some wonderful choirs. The effect of that, of course, was to raise everybody else's standards. So the general consensus of our adjudicators who come from all over the world is that the musical standard in Llangollen is second to none.
As entertaining as these Zulu dancers were in 1977, not everyone was in favour of them attending the Eisteddfod.
Apartheid was a big problem for Llangollen. On the one hand, there were those who thought that because of the loathsome apartheid system, where people were not treated equally simply because of their colour and race, that we in Llangollen should refuse to have anything to do with them and should refuse to accept them.
I want to appeal very fervently to the rugby union and to the Eisteddfod people. Please, if you want to help us non-violently, cut those links.
From the point of view of the black people in South Africa, every event like this of a cultural group in Britain or other parts of the world saying, no, we won't recognize South Africa as South Africa is, that was felt to be support.
As against that, we had a body of opinion who felt that it would be totally against the ethos of Llangollen to refuse people, irrespective of their political background, because that's what Llangollen is all about.
And so the Eisteddfod took a political decision to ban entries from South Africa, until that was the abolition of apartheid and the inauguration of Nelson Mandela. A South African choir, Imilonji, performed at that inaugural ceremony. Soon after, they came to Llangollen.
But we're excited to be here, only to share our heritage, our pride, our culture. And I think it is particularly exciting that other nations are here to share with us, to share. Very few things happen. We've just become a rainbow nation, and we've come into the international rainbow Eisteddfod, and we have come to enhance that rainbowness of the nation, and we're very proud and happy. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. It was great to have them back, but the true representation of the new integrated South Africa came later.
I'm pleased to announce that the winning choir of the world at the 2002 Llangollen International Musical Eisteddfod is Pro Cantu Youth Choir.
Coming from this degraded and despised area, I mean, on any showing they were marvelous, but to know from what they had come from was just amazing. It just showed, it showed what the apartheid system had been suppressing and trying to kill, and that was its cruelty, and that was how it had to be destroyed.
Pro Cantu Youth Choir, a mixed choir in every sense of the word. A new South Africa, and with the fall of the Berlin Wall, a new map of Europe emerged.
By the late 20th century, the mobility of people all over the world and the increasing suspicion of people coming in. Who are these? Do they have visas? Are they going to stay illegally? These kinds of thoughts probably make the opening up of Llangollen to the entire world more difficult now than was the case in 1947.
Today, Llangollen can offer a stage for submerged nationalities, groups who want to represent their culture, but not necessarily their country. This Kurdish group, based in London, was exiled from Turkey in the early 1990s.
We don't have any country, but we show so many people we are a nation and we got culture, we got language. That's what we are glad now, and we are very happy now.
Last year, backstage, we saw the leader, Hussein Kisek, talking to a Turkish musician. And he tells it very nicely, Hussein. He says, turns out we're from the same town. Turns out we're cousins. And again, you get the idea that you can take exile groups and you can take the original countries and bring them together, and they share the common culture. And that's extremely good. I don't know of anywhere else in the world that you can see that sort of effect happening so spontaneously as in Llangollen.
War and its devastating impact are still around us today. A bomb exploding at a stadium in Grozny, Chechnya. A group of young Chechen dancers, Daimok, were at that stadium. The group's dance hall had been destroyed during the Second Chechen War, but still Daimok danced. And soon after, they danced in Llangollen too.
Война никак не может влиять на детей положительно, не только на детей, ни на кого. Конечно, это танцы для детей, это как морально-психологическая реабилитация.
Танец-то важен, это танец, наш национальный танец. И я показываю свой народ, доказываю, что свой народ такой же народ, как и все остальные.
Но когда мы танцуем, мы, чтобы не говорили на нас, что мы не такие люди, как все, чтобы мы не террористы, еще мы, чтобы...
Conflict continues, but so does the need to share and embrace each other's culture. In its 60th year, the International Eisteddfod is as relevant as ever.
Somebody once said, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness.
However international we may claim to be, the poorer parts of the world, on the whole, are not with us. It's no longer an ideological divide, it's an economic divide. The other, more ideological divide is, on the whole, the Islamic world has yet to find us. And it does seem to me that's where our way ahead ought to be.
We're going to stay together as a cohesive world. Places like Llangollen are perhaps one of the few beacons of hope we've got.